with self-confidence and with faith and with being fearless, there's nothing you can't do.
But understand that the human spirit is very powerful.
I think God needed me to build that foundation.
I feel like I've been pushed to another level. Welcome to JourneyTV. Hi, and welcome to today's episode of JourneyTV. It's a pleasure to have you here and our live audience. We're here at Fusion Superplex. Again, my live audience is with me. Hi! And also, I have a very special guest here today, Ramona Wright. She is a tech CEO, TEDx speaker, producer, writer, author, all the way from Los Angeles, California. As you know, JourneyTV is filmed here in the Bahamas, and she believes in JourneyTV so much that she flew all the way from the west coast of the United States to come here, and she's already a Bahama mama, people. Hello.
A proud Bahama mama.
A proud Bahama mama. But welcome. Thank you so much for your support and for believing in us.
Oh, Erlene, I am so honored to be here, and who wouldn't want to come to the Bahamas? I mean, hello.
This is true. Have you been enjoying yourself?
I've been enjoying myself very much, yes.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I've been following you for about a year now. I see, the empowered woman that you are.
Thank you.
I know, some of your journey, and I think that it's an excellent idea for our viewers to get to know more about you. So, Ramona, I want you to tell us about you. I'm going to let you go ahead and start.
Well, I think, I can't tell my story without saying I'm the daughter of a faith-filled entrepreneurial woman. She really made me who I am, Adelaide Smith. Mm-hmm. And even though she has since passed on for the last 10 years, the older I get, I feel like I'm becoming more and more like her. They say we become our mothers, the good and the bad sometimes. And so, I like to say that I'm a vessel. So much of my work, even the work that my brother and I are doing with our app, WeUp, is really about empowerment. And it really started when we were kids. Our app, WeUp, is a goal achievement platform. It's gamified, and it pays people and rewards them to stick to their goals. And I start there because our mom, growing up as a kid, would turn a lot of our challenges into games.
Wow.
And so I feel like my mom's life continues to reflect in my life in so many different ways.
Every conversation that I have with you, you talk about your mom. So she is seems like your biggest influencer.
Yes. Yeah.
And then your brother.
Yes.
I can tell you have such a warm connection and relationship with him.
Yep. I know you're a twin, and so people think that my brother and I are twins, or they think he's the oldest, which I like because I'm the oldest. And so we, our mom used to say that you two are peas in a pod, and you are all that each other has. Wow. And she was a single mother. She raised my brother and I on maybe $14,000 a year. And I'm not going to tell your in-studio audience how old I am, but that was a little bit of money even back then. And I don't know how she did it, as someone who's just has me to take care of. I think back every day, how did she raise two children with sometimes no money? But she always had faith, and she would always say, see beyond your circumstances by staying focused on your goals. And again, I feel like our app, WeUp, is a love letter to her.
A love letter to her, wow.
We're challenging people to do.
Wow, a love letter to her. That is beautiful. So you are honoring your mother's legacy continuously, you and your brother.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
So what are the top 3 lessons that you would have learned from her?
I think the first lesson is faith. That whole mantra, see beyond your circumstances by staying focused on your goals. You have to have faith to see beyond your circumstances. It's so easy to allow what is happening right in front of us to cloud where we want to go and our future. And so I would say faith is number 1. My brother called her the water walker. So it's like, move over, Peter. Adelaide was in that boat with Jesus. And she's just someone who was fearless. I would say that's the next lesson I learned is first faith and then being fearless. She would talk to anyone and she would always say, go to the top.
Go to the top.
Don't talk to the middleman. Go to the top, because the middleman is going to have to go to the person at the top anyway. So don't let them speak for you.
Don't let them speak for you.
And so she was always someone who, regardless of her circumstances or her station in life, believed that she was a woman of power and she deserved every opportunity.
Wow.
And then I would say that the third thing is to be yourself. I know it sounds cliche, but I'm really grateful that my mom encouraged me to be me. Many parents, I know, especially I have some Jamaican roots on my dad's side, but I know a lot of families around the world always want their children to be something in particular, maybe living out their parents' dreams. And our mom really encouraged my brother and I to pursue our passions, and she made so many sacrifices for the things that were important to us.
Wow.
And so I would say faith, being fearless, and being yourself.
Wow. That was a blessing to have.
Yes.
Because a lot of us discover ourselves a little later, and I'm not sure if you went along that journey. You might have, but you still had that strong foundation where someone was pouring into you.
Yes. Absolutely. We're so grateful that we had that. You know, when she passed on, right before she passed, she felt so bad that she wasn't able to leave my brother and I wealth. You know, she said, I'm not able to leave you anything. And my brother and I look back now, and the greatest thing she gave us was self-confidence.
Wow.
You know, you can have money, right?
Yeah.
You can have money, you can have all the money in the world, and you can squander it. But with self-confidence and with faith and with being fearless, there's nothing you can't do. So we're grateful for those gifts.
You can continue to build.
Yeah.
Even if you fall down, you get back up and you continue to build.
Yes.
So again, she's giving you a strong foundation. I know in our conversations, because you mentioned that she made a lot of sacrifices, you talked about the things that she did so well, and so many other parents, they would have followed that path as well.
Sure.
But there were some things that, some mistakes that she might have made that she didn't even realize that she was making, because she was so focused on the sacrifices and building and building.
Yep.
You've talked to me about just how you had to strip away some of those things, some of those lessons that you learned. They ended up being lessons, but on the front end of it, it did not seem like it would turn out for your good. Help us to understand how you were able to break down those generational strongholds.
Yes.
Of course, the positive things that mom poured on you, but then on the back end, being a single mother and just the struggles that you all went through.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Arlene, for bringing that up. And I think that so many families don't realize that my brother, he had actually said this, but so many families don't realize that we're following in our parents' footsteps unknowingly, both those great footsteps, those giant footsteps, those leaps that they made, but also some of those valleys that they maybe went through. We're repeating some of those things. And it's almost like my brother said, someone stopped him and said, your mother lived in New York, and he was in New York, just some random stranger. And he said, yeah. And he said, you're following the same path she's following. And he realized that sometimes we follow those paths to the same end that they did. And so how do we become aware of that? It's almost like a bioluminescence, something that's lighting up our way. And I had to really think about, our mom was somewhat of an orphan. Her parents, her mom passed when she was 9.
Wow.
And her dad unfortunately suffered a nervous breakdown. And so she was raised by her older sister, and she was one of 5, and she was the middle child. And so my mother was parentified. And I don't know if your viewers are familiar with that term, and I know there's a therapist in the audience, but parentification is something that I think many Caribbean daughters especially can relate to, but many Black women all around the world have to step into roles of being maybe a surrogate parent for their younger siblings, maybe even being a life partner for their mother or father. Sometimes speaking on behalf of their parents if there's a language barrier. And so because my mom had to step into that role, and then here we are years later where she becomes a mother, she becomes a single parent, I then have to step into sometimes that not just big sister, but second mom role, which I know my brother probably hasn't always appreciated. And so I think for me, I had to learn my role. You know, I realized that I never had a father growing up. And so I didn't have that parental role of someone who was a provider and a protector. And so I remember a story I'll never forget. I was probably about 12. I was going to spend the night with a good girlfriend and her family. And I started to cry when we were driving away. And my girlfriend's mom said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "Well, I don't want anything to happen to my mom or brother." And I felt like if I left them, something would happen to them.
Wow.
I felt like I had to be there to protect them. Now, mind you, nothing had ever happened to us, but it was this innate feeling that I was the protector of our family. And so, you know, over the years, I've had to strip that away, to use your language, strip that away, where I think it's really something from a generational pattern. If your parents go through something, they're only going to sometimes, if they don't realize it, repeat that in their behavior, and you're going to mimic it, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Casting Call Bahamas, casting for TV, film, print, and brand influencers. Our talent represents all ages and ethnicities. Get the most natural, engaged, and professional talent for all your production needs. Call us at 801-7044 or email talent@castingcallbahamas.com. Casting Call Bahamas, your action is our cue.
Welcome back, and if you are just joining us, you've missed a lot. We have Ramona Wright here, who is sharing her journey with us on JourneyTV. My live studio audience has been great. I can't wait until you join us here on JourneyTV, be a part of our live studio audience. But Ramona, right before the break, you talked about how much of a blessing it was to have such a great mom, and just your family dynamic. You also talked about how having such a strong mom, though, you talked about the positive side and the negative side. And you actually said what the outcome of living with such a strong mom, who herself in her childhood, she had to be strong because of the women that were around her.
Yes.
I want you to help me to understand, once you realized that you needed to strip away some of those things, as far as not being able to ask for help, not being vulnerable, even you needed to step in more into your femininity. I recall you saying that.
Yes,
help me to understand what the next steps were once you came to the realization of what changes you needed to make.
Sure, I appreciate that question. So many times we don't know what we don't know, and so I always like to ask experts. And if I can't speak to someone directly, whether it's a therapist, books are a great resource, and a really powerful book that helped me, and especially for any person, no matter their gender or age, or if they're single or married, or divorced. It's a really good book called Everything I Wish We'd Known Before We Got Married. I believe it's a book by Gary Chapman, who wrote The 5 Love Languages. And in it are a series of questions that people are invited to ask themselves. And it was really powerful because it talks about how conflict often happens when people get married in the household. And it usually is because of people saying, well, my mom didn't do it like that, or my dad didn't do it like that, right? And we behave in a particular way that was influenced by our parents. So if our father took out the trash, then my man better take out the trash. If my mom cooked, from maybe a certain person's perspective, the wife should do all the cooking. And so one of the questionnaires it asked was to look through and write down all the roles that your parents had. Well, I only had one parent. So that meant my mother did everything.
Wow.
There was no sharing responsibilities. So how do you learn how to share? Just like a little kid, you have to teach them how to share. So then how do you as an adult learn how to share the load, right? Oh, I got it. I don't need help. Because you never saw someone to share a load with. And so books have been a wonderful way for me to really do some self-reflection. Therapy has been a great way to hear myself talk and get feedback. And then I also think accepting honest critiques and feedback. I thank God for my brother. Even though he's my business partner, he's really an advisor to me and has been a wonderful resource, especially as it relates to dating, right? How do we as women know how men think if we don't have healthy male role models in our life to give us perspective? And to be open to when a man says, hey, that's not cute. That's not attractive, and not be combative. And so for me, I really had to be humble. I would say that's the biggest thing. You know, Kendrick Lamar, be humble. I had to be humble. And I really had to look at myself and say, okay, if I want to change, what are the things that I need to do to be able to do that and accomplish that goal?
Wow, this is amazing. You are completely pouring into me.
Thank you.
I can relate to a lot that you're saying, and you're making me understand some of the things that I do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So the book helped you.
Yes.
It helped you to realize, and then you went on the path. Help us. I want you to keep going. Like, I just want you to feed me and feed our audience and our viewers.
Absolutely. I think that, you know, another thing that I did is I went on a self-help journey probably, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, where every month I would try to read a new book. I would take classes. I started therapy when my mom got sick. Unfortunately, I really needed an outlet to talk about my grief and to talk about the preparation of her transitioning. And so it was a great place to understand how grief impacts us. And so that was a wonderful resource for me as well. And then realizing that therapy is great even when you don't have a crisis in your life, to talk about your great things, to talk about your celebrations. And then I think at the end of the day, for me, having fun, that's something else I think, I don't want to say was stripped away from me as a child, but because we moved a lot and there was so much financial insecurity and there was a lot of responsibility, I can't say that I had a lot of fun always growing up and playtime. And even in college, I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs, you know, with my Jamaican roots. And I realized, wow, I don't have a lot of fun. And so having fun is something that I think has really helped me because, again, my mom, she wasn't able to have a lot of fun. Her childhood was taken away from her. And so I think looking at all these things that I needed to add in my life to help me be more harmonious and in balance.
Wow. Wow. Right, our audience?
Thank you.
Wow. Interesting. How do you honor your mom in your personal life and in your professional life? Just the all-around, give us the all-around view of that.
You know, when my therapist and I talked about, when I went through grief therapy, I should say, one of the things she said is one of the best ways that we can honor our loved ones is tell stories about them to keep their memory alive. And so the fact that you hear me talk about my mom so much is a way that I honor her in both my personal and professional life. But one of the things that my brother and I did is we wrote a book about her, quotes. My mother was full of quotes.
Wow.
She had, you know, something to say about everything, like most mamas do. And I think one of my favorite quotes, and I feel like this applies to you and I, she said, there should be no place you go in the world where you don't know someone who knows someone. And how powerful your network is. And so in my personal life, we wrote this book to honor her and celebrate her memory and share some of her tidbits of wisdom with the world. And then in the professional life, this idea that sacrifice equals change, and to become who you want to be, sometimes you have to downgrade your lifestyle and upgrade your hustle. Those are mantras of WeUp.
Say that again, Ramona.
Downgrade your lifestyle, upgrade your hustle.
Wow.
And I got to give my brother Voltaire a shout out because that's all him. WeUp was really his vision, and he was inspired by our mom and all of the sacrifices. He saw how this woman went back to school in her late 50s to get her MBA. She made all these sacrifices and graduated at the young age of 61. And got her MBA, was the most mature student, as she would say, in her class. And, you know, for us, she showed us how you can achieve a goal, how you can live beyond your see beyond your circumstances by staying focused on your goals. And so WeUp is that way of us honoring her and hopefully inspiring other people to live their legend, you know, live their dream, accomplish their goals, no matter what you're going through. She showed us how to do it, and we want to show the world how to do it too.
Wow. Through WeUp, through everything that you do. Wow. Well, Ramona, thank you so much for blessing us with your presence, your story, a part of your story, because I know that there's so much more for you to tell. I am grateful to your mom. I'm grateful to your mom for just instilling everything in you that she has.
Yes.
You have an incredible presence, and
you.
you've been a blessing to me already.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy to be here. And I love the Bahamas.
Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. We just received so much wisdom and so much knowledge from our international headliner, Ramona Wright. I want to welcome our team therapist who's going to give us practical and professional feedback based on what Ramona shared.
Thank you so much, Ramona, for sharing your story with us and sharing your mother with us. The journey to self-discovery and becoming all that you've been created to be is a difficult one sometimes, but what is so important to that journey is understanding who you are. And oftentimes understanding who we are, we think it's in the physical aspect and in the biological aspect, understanding who our parents was, who they are, their heritage, and all of that begins to shape who we are, our experiences. But here's the thing. As you were speaking and you were sharing so much about understanding who you are as an individual, how you were shaped by your mom and her decision and her behaviors, I was thinking also about the spiritual aspect of our genealogy, right? That component or that part of us has to be a part of our development or our professional journey as well. And understanding who you are, created to be in a spiritual sense, and who you are combined with the physical and the biological is extremely important, because what it does is shift and creates clear focus and perspective. And once we have perspective on who we are, it helps us to see the world, right, in the light that it was created to be. It helps us to function in full capacity. And it also helps us to remove any biases that will limit us from becoming who we are meant to be. So thank you once again for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Go Philippa! Go Philippa! Thank you to our studio audience and to you for joining us. Until next time, give love and light to the people around you. But most importantly, don't forget to give it to yourself. Join us next time for more JourneyTV.
Thank you for joining us on JourneyTV.
Until next time, remember to give love and light to the people around you, but most importantly,
Give it to yourself. Join us next time.
For more JourneyTV.